Hello everyone and welcome back to Genie Crafts. So I'm back after a very long break. It has been almost 2.5 months since I posted the previous video. So sorry for such a long wait, but I've been working on a new project, the crystal portrait, and that's what today's video is all about. I got a lot of requests from you guys to make this video tutorial on this, and I finally figured out how to do it. So this is a two-part video. In today's video we are just going to see how to construct, given if you have a template, and then I'll also be releasing a video on how to prepare the template. So guys, let's get started. So first things first, let's talk about material. So obviously you are going to need a template and you're going to need a base on which you're going to create. So for this I'm using a very thin glass pane that came out of frame that I had that broke, so I thought that I'm going to use it. You can also use acrylic glass or pixie glass if you have it with you. You can use bigger sizes also, but this was a test, so I have used A4 size frame. Make sure that the printout is the exact same size of the glass so that you can set it under the glass while you are creating. If you want to clean your glass, you can use the glass cleaner to clean it and make sure that there are no smudges or fingerprints on top of it. Also be careful when you are making it so that you do not leave fingerprints. Next comes the crucial part, which is the crystals. A lot of artists have made this using Swarovski crystals or diamond crystals, but obviously it's too expensive, so I settled with something that a lot of nail artists use. These are called AB resin crystals, and they come in different sizes. So this one was very glittery and very shining, and when it's faceted, so when light hits at different angles it glitters and it shines very nicely. So these are all of different sizes. So in total I had 6 different sizes with me to correspond to the different sizes of the dots on the template. So this is the biggest size that I had. When people make it with Swarovski crystals, they come in even bigger sizes. So if you are making a big portrait like A3 size, then you can use it. Then you need a glue. I'm using the regular PVA craft glue, and you require a toothpick or something pointy to place the small dots of. Next you need a tray to put the those diamonds or crystals in for you to be able to pick from and put on the portrait. So the tray that I'm using is the same one that came with my diamond painting kit, and I'm using the exact same one. And use a small spoon or a spatula to take out carefully the resin crystal so that you do not spill them on the floor or on the board, because it's very difficult to pick them up later. So carefully put some of the resins into that tray, and once you are done, then you give the tray a good shake, and then all the resins settle with flat face down so that you can pick them up quickly. To pick up the crystals, I'm using this wax pencil. This is the first time I'm using a wax pencil. For diamond painting, there is already a pen that comes and you get a wax separately. But I think this is better because it's completely a wax pencil. So you sharpen it to a nice point with slightly blunt, not exactly pointy, slightly blunt, so that you can easily pick up the beads. Now let's start creating the portrait. You can see that some of the beads I've already placed in, but let me explain the process. So with your toothpick or the pointy tool that you have, pick up a small bead of glue, and you do it phase by phase. For example, you pick up the biggest dots and you use them with the biggest crystal sizes that you have. Then you pick up the next size dots and the next size and the next size, and as you proceed towards the smaller dots, your crystal sizes also start decreasing. So right now I am doing the biggest crystals, so that means that I am picking out the biggest dots that are there on the template. You can see that I have secured the template properly underneath the glass. I have actually put double sticky tapes between the template and the glass so that the template does not move. It's very important that your template does not move, because if your template moves, then later on it will become extremely difficult for you to align it in the same place. And when you are putting the glue dots, put very small dots, because it does not require too much for you to stick the crystals to the surface of the glass, but it does take some time to actually dry out. So use a glue which dries out faster. So this PVA glue that I had actually dries quite quickly, so that's the reason why I'm using this. Now as you can see that I am one by one putting in the crystals in their places. It's exactly similar to what I do for the diamond painting. The only difference is here I have to put the glue also. And also when I'm putting the glue, that one bead of glue that I'm picking up can actually be utilized for multiple dots. So you can see that I pick up glue one time and then I put it on 2-3 dots as per the template. And once I have done, then I'm going to stick the beads one by one. Do not put too many dots in one go, because by the time, let's say that you put 20-30 glue dots, by the time you start putting in the crystals, your glue dots will have dried out. So it's essential that you do it in batches of like 5-6 5-6 and so on. Depends upon the drying time for your glue actually. Now let's talk about some of the important things when you are doing a crystal portrait. So in the market you get different kind of crystals. For example, you get crystals which have adhesive on the flat back side, and then you get crystals for which you have to apply glue like the ones which we are using. So depends upon whatever crystal you are comfortable using in. I would suggest not to go for crystals which already come with an adhesive bag, because the moment you stick them in, it will become very difficult to move them, and if you move them too quickly or too much, then it will leave smudges on your surface. So do not do that. I think a better approach is to put the glue on the surface and then put the crystal on top of it, because it gives you a little bit of leeway to move the crystals around if there is any issue with the placement of the crystal. Also, another very important thing is the perspective, that is the angle from which you are looking at the portrait when you are making it, and you should maintain that perspective throughout the making of the portrait. Because what happens is, because there is a thickness to the glass, so depending upon whether they are looking at it leaning from the left or leaning from the right, or right from the top of the portrait, you might see the placement of those black dots in the template differently. So it's very important that you maintain the same posture and the same perspective of looking at the template from the same angle while you are creating the portrait. You could see that right now you might feel that the dot is not on top of the glue dot is not on top of the black dot, but the angle at which from which I am looking at the portrait, it is perfectly okay, but the angle of shooting is slightly different, so you might feel a little disoriented in terms of the exact placement of glue dot over the black dot. So these kind of small things you need to take care of when you are making this portrait. Alright, so we are done with one size of the black dot. So that is the biggest crystals I've already utilized. You can see that I've exhausted 2 of my boxes. Also, this box that you see, you can get it from any wholesale market or any craft market which store beads and crystals of these kinds. Okay, now we move to the smaller dot, that is the next smaller dot in size. So it's slightly smaller in size. These crystal beads are slightly smaller than the previous one. So if you compare the two immediate sizes next to each other, you won't see much difference, but it's important that you use different sized crystals, because otherwise the look of your final portrait will be very two-dimensional, in the sense that it will look crystal portrait, but at the same time it will not look proper portrait. And there are different template creators online. Some will create with all the circles in the same sizes, others will create circles of different sizes to give your portrait a little bit of a more dimension in terms of look, texture and feel. It's important that you use crystals of different sizes, and that's why I'm using crystals of different sizes. As your crystal size decreases, it becomes difficult to handle it. Sometimes when you will pick the crystal, you will not pick it up from the non-flat side, you might pick it up from the flat side, because on your tray the crystal might not be oriented properly. So you have to be careful when you are picking the crystals to ensure that you put the flat side on top of the glass surface and not the faceted side. Otherwise it will look very bad, and the glitter comes only from the different faces that are cut on the crystals and not from the flat side. So it's important that you pick the crystals from the right side. And as the crystals grow smaller and smaller, it actually becomes very difficult. I used all 6 sizes, so I know when I went to the last size it was extremely challenging, but it was well worth the effort finally, because the different sized crystals actually gave a depth and a little bit of 3D effect to the entire portrait in the end. The next thing that you should take care of when making this portrait is you pick up dots of one sizes or crystals of one sizes and finish placing them before you move on to the next size. It's important primarily because to avoid confusion, because these crystals look more or less the same size unless you compare the biggest size with the smallest size. Then obviously you will see the difference, but between the two immediate sizes the difference is very less, so it becomes very challenging to identify which crystal you are working with. So it's important to finish one size first and then only move to the next size. So this will kind of make sure that there is no confusion in terms of where you are when you are creating the portrait. Another thing that you should take care of is that when you are working, try not to put too much of your hand on the glass surface or on the acrylic glass surface or the pixie glass surface, whichever glass you are using, because it kind of leaves smudges. If it's on the back side of the glass, it is still easy to clean, but if it's on the front side of the glass, it will become difficult to clean later on. So try not to put your palm on the glass or on fingers on the glass, because it leaves a lot of smudges and fingerprints, which becomes very difficult to remove at the end. Because once you're done with the portrait, you cannot actually spray the cleaner, then you will have to use a lint free cloth, put some spray on that and then only clean it. It's kind of inevitable that ultimately you are going to leave some fingerprints. It's okay, but try to avoid it. You can also put some paper on the glass pane to avoid leaving fingerprints on the surface. So I've used different angles of shooting video to show you how the entire process looks like, putting the glue dots, placing the crystals. I hope it has been clear to you so far. It's a long process, and finally I am at the last stage. You can see that I'm using those very tiny black dots that are there and putting the smallest of crystals that I have on those dots. And overall it took me a lot of time. I think it took me almost 15 hours, 20 hours to completely make it. Mostly because it's the first time. If you have experience with diamond painting, then it will be faster for you, because the process is same. It's just that you have to utilize glue also, and there is no set pattern. You have to find your pattern basis the template that is underneath your surface. But it's a very satisfying process, and if you properly make it, then the end result will be well worth it. So that's the overall process of making a crystal portrait. I have already covered everything that you need to take care of. And once you have made, then comes the framing process. And for this kind of portrait, you need a black background for the crystals to actually shine through. So here we are with the finished portrait, and this was just before the framing. Look how this glass surface transforms into a crystal portrait when I remove the black background. So as I remove the black background, you can see the beautiful portrait that has come up. And obviously the next step is framing, where I'm going to put it against the black background. So for framing, I'm using this simple regular A4 size frame, because my glass surface is A4 size. This is not a shadow box frame. There is no depth to the frame. It's just a regular A4 size frame. The frame comes with its own front acrylic glass, which we do not need because the entire portrait is made on a glass. So we are going to keep this aside. All those inner frames, background paper and all that, we don't need that. What we need to do is take up our crystal portrait and then put it front facing forward, put the glass surface down onto the frame, and then put a black background paper to provide a surface to the entire portrait, a background surface to the entire portrait, and then close the frame and you have your crystal portrait. So guys, I hope you found this video useful, instructional, and I have been able to answer some of your questions regarding the crystal portrait. If you still have any doubts, any question, please do not forget to reach out to me. You can leave a comment, you can directly WhatsApp me, you can email me with your queries, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. If you guys really like the video, then please do not forget to hit the like button and share this video with your friends, and do subscribe to my channel for regular videos on art and crafts of different forms, and I will see you guys in the next video very soon. Till then, stay safe, take care, and bye bye.